Welcome to, oh, yes, I'm exhausted. That sounded very exhausted. Let's see if I can get a little more oomph. Hello, everyone. Well, that'll have to do. I have been working hard on getting this tutorial put together for how to make these coffee cup journals. And it was pretty labor intensive because I had to keep stopping and taking videos and then going back and redoing what I did in the first one in a second one because I forgot to do a video or a tutorial on how to do it. And it's taken a lot of editing to mash all those pieces together. So this is a long video. I'll just say that right at the beginning. So I will below in the little drop-down box have a list of timestamps for the different processes and tutorials that are involved so that you can go ahead and just fast forward through to the part you're interested in. I would hope that you'd watch the whole video, but you may have to do it in chunks because I think this is going to be one of my longer videos. But I am pleased with the way each of these turned out. They are similar and yet completely different. And I have been watching a lot of my friends who have been making these same things from a session that I taught at a Bible journaling retreat. And each of them are so very unique and so very adorable and so very beautiful and so very much the person that created them. So sit back, get ready to be in it for the long haul, or check the drop down to see if you want to just scooch on through. And thanks for joining me on the making of the Coffee Cup Journal. Coffee, tea, you and me, and Jesus makes three. Hello, welcome to Ephemera Files by Tommy. And I am starting a new journal that I will actually be teaching other ladies how to make, one of their very own, at a Bible journaling retreat that I am going to. I am leading a session on making this journal, and I started to make my prototype to show them what it's going to look like before they get finished. And, well, not exactly, because they're all going to be different because they're individual journals. However, I did want one that they could look at to see what it could look like, to see what mine looks like. And I already started making it, cutting it, putting things together, and then I realized, you know, other people might want to see this too. So I sorted out all of my goodies and stuff, and I am going to share with you some of the things that I'll be pulling into this journal. Obviously, I am not going to put everything in here. Well, maybe it's not obvious. It will be obvious in a moment because the finished journal, this will be the cover. It is a travel coffee cup that I got from my friend Charlotte last year at this same retreat that I'm getting ready to go to. The cup was filled with little goodies and stuff, and it had a lid. I took the goodies and stuff out of it, and I've used them in different places, but I didn't want to just toss the cup because it was too pretty. I really, really liked it. So I deconstructed it. I cut down the middle of the photo, or not the photo, the picture, and I removed the bottom from the inside of the cup. You can see how that fit together right there. I kept that though because you never know. Now, I cut this cup this direction so that I could save most of the picture, but it doesn't have to be cut down the middle. It can be cut at the side if you have a photo. I keep saying photo. If you have a print or a picture that doesn't necessarily need to be balanced on the front. So before I get any further, I just want to show you some of the things that I'm going to use in putting this together. Oh, and then this will be the closing device. It won't have lace or anything around the outside because I thought that that would look really cute. And I'm going to decorate up that coffee band as well. So I've got my basket over here that's going to hold all of my stuff for this project. And as I go through it, I'm going to put it in there so I don't lose anything, which has happened before. The first thing you're going to want to do is get some papers together. Decide what kind of items you would like to have in your book. Once you have chosen some of those papers, you're going to want a coffee cup template. And I made this by laying a piece of paper inside the coffee cup and then trimming it a little bit smaller. I think it is about 3/8 of an inch smaller on each side, and then about 1/4 of an inch smaller on top and on bottom. And then I learned that I should have cut it like that instead of like that, because I ended up with some single pages that I had to put together in order to make a folded page. But we'll get there in a moment. This also works if you fold a piece of paper, put this on the folded edge, and then you will still get the opening. And so this works if you want to put something just on one side of the page as well. So I went through papers that I had, and I chose several different papers. They all tended to be coffee and tea themed, and I will tell you why in just a moment. But first I want to show you the papers that I chose. Lots of scrapbook papers. I did not go with heavy cardstock on any of them. Some of them are cardstock, but they're very lightweight cardstock. And then some were just scrapbook paper. And then I also, of course, included some coffee and tea dyed papers from composition book. I think that this is a drawing paper. This is just regular copy paper that has been copy dyed. And I had a poem that was in a book that mentioned coffee and another one that mentioned tea, so I cut them both out and glued them together, and then I'll be covering these 2 pages because they don't really add to my journal the way I would like for them to. Now, the reason, other than the coffee cup, that I am focusing on the coffee and tea is that the theme of this journal is coffee and tea, you and me, and Jesus makes 3. Now that would be up to you. You can cut it off at coffee and tea and you and me. You can keep it all together like I want to. Or you can ignore it totally and just go with the flow of using a cup as a journal cover. That'll be fine. I have some coffee dyed index cards that I may use. I have, this was a piece of paper where I was practicing using one of my stamps. It is a large index card. And I simply folded it around the template. And I'm probably going to use it like that. And when I sew through my signature, I will sew through there and then have a little flip right here. And it is, at the moment, corralling my coffee dyed and my already stamped with Tim Holtz Distress Oxide Ground Espresso. And these are some of the stamps that I have. Once again, I was practicing, but they turned out pretty well, so I think I'll probably incorporate them into the journal as it is. And so speaking of those stamps, I'll go ahead and show you that collection. I have not practiced with all of them yet, and I probably will not use all of these stamps, but I like to have them handy so that if I decide I want to use them in the journal, they are right there, and I don't have to go look for them. So these are some of the stamps that I chose. This one is from Stampendous. This one is also from Stampendous. I got these 3 stamps on clearance for I think $1 a piece, which is pretty good considering how expensive stamps are nowadays. And this one is from Hampton Art. Now, here are the remainder of the stamps that I'm going to look at using. I did use this one. It's a deep red. This one also has a die with it. A Tim Holtz stamp. I just love these. I don't even know what he calls them. They're industrial, architectural drawing type stamps. This has a lot of words that I would like to use. And that's always a bonus for me, is to be able to use words that are already put together. I don't have to worry about aligning my letters. This is a set of stamps that also had a matching set of die cuts. More stamps, more stamps. And then this is a 4-way stamp, or a turnabout stamp. And I will make a video on how to use this with your stamping platform, or if you don't have a stamping platform, how to use it without one. Let's see, next is choosing your papers. Like I said, you do not want a bunch of cardstock in here because you're not going to have a lot of thickness available. But look at all these cute papers that you can find. And I think I got almost every one of these on clearance. So I didn't put out a lot of money for my paper. I feel like it's always a good idea to save some money when you need supplies. If you don't need supplies, it's easier to save money. You just don't spend it. Here are some more papers that I'm going to use in my journal. These pages are from a calendar where you tear off a page a day, and just happen to have 3 of them. I saved them because I have used them in a lot of journals. Just happen to have 3 of them that worked with coffee and tea. This is a cover from a mini composition book, and I liked the red because I seemed to have a lot of red in my papers and in my ephemera and such. I may use it, I may not. I tore these off of a Splenda box, the sweetener, because of the coffee and the words that went around. Even if it's in the shape of an S, I don't mind. So I will probably use these. They're on cardboard, so they're a little thick. We'll see what happens. I just thought this was cute. Somebody crocheted me a cup cozy, and it came with this. Again, I don't know if I'll use it or not. I have some wrapping paper in this beautiful coffee color. This is a page, my stamping off page, so I will probably use it as a background on one of the pages that doesn't have a print on the back, and then put things over it. But I thought that that looked really neat, and so I just saved it. And then I have an ad for coffee. I don't know if I'll use any or all of it, but I really like the bubbles and the wake up, and I don't know. It just made me smile to think about using that in my journal. And then here are some scraps and offcuts. Some of my coffee dyed paper from where I cut the inside pages for the journal. See, I cut 2 pieces out of one paper for some reason. And so I kept it in case I wanted to do something else, or if I needed to add another paper. These are little cut-offs. This is from a branding strip from an Echo Park paper. These are some of the pieces I cut off that I thought were big enough to use. I did not save very many. This is from the Daily Grind. It is by Becky Hook. And if you can see that, I think that that would be cute on a journaling card or something. And I'm trying to keep all of my things neatly organized so I don't lose it. Can you tell I've been having trouble losing things here lately, since it seems to be first and foremost on my mind? I pulled out 3 napkins that went with the theme. And this says, I would like to volunteer to hug you until it feels better. This may take a while. I'll bring snacks. I think that's adorable. I have here a little tray that I have put in some die cuts, and I'll have to look up and see where my die cuts came from because I'm not sure, but I may use those in there. I have a guest check. This is from something that would normally just be tossed. I think that actually, let's see, most of this would be from stuff that would generally get tossed. So I'll put those back in my little tray. We had sushi last week, and they came in these trays, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's perfect. That's the perfect size to hold all my bits and bobs and ends and odds and all of that. This is a branding strip from one of the pages. This is from the cover of one of the pads of paper that I ordered. I don't think it was a pad of paper. I think it was actually a kit or a collection because it also came with some stickers that I have put into the basket for my class, for my friends to choose from to make theirs. But I cut the pieces off of the let's see, label from the front. Let's see if I can get all of those together. And there's a lot of things that you can use from the front. I mean, look, here's a picture of all of the pages that were inside of the kit. And I can cut those even smaller to make little embellishments. This one as well. And even this one. I love the little coffee shop line right here. I think I actually had either 2 kits or a kit and a pad of paper because I have an awful lot of these little pieces. Let's see. And then I had these 2 donuts prints, and I made tags for something and then didn't use them, and so they already have the lined paper adhered to the back, so I may use that because coffee and donuts, you know. And I had a grocery list pad that was Life Begins After Coffee, and it was too long to use for this, and I didn't want to just fold it up and make a pocket because then it kind of obliterated that. So I actually just cut it off, and then I saved this because I can use it to make a pocket. So there's that part. I have some stickers that are coffee themed. I've got Park Lane Papery coffee themed washi stickers. They're so cute. I'm not going to use all of them. What I don't use will go into the goodies that my ladies get to choose from. I do not remember where I got these stickers, but they are adorable. And they're dimensional. I don't know if you can see that, but they're pretty thick. They're a little puffy. And then I have these stickers that I also use in my planner, my weekly planner, that are awful cute. And then this that also that has coffee stickers, but it also has, this is one of my favorites, Bless This Hot Mess. And then in this tray is my last little bunch of stuff. I have this ribbon that is printed, and I'll have to look and see where I got it from, printed with coffee and has little coffee beans on it. I got that on Etsy, but I'll have to look up where I got it. I got this when my husband took me out for a weekend for my birthday, and we went to some flea market / antique vintage shops, and I found this, and the lady gave it to me. It was so funny. The store, I can't even remember why she gave it to me, but she gave it to me. And it's vintage, and it's from a Lion Coffee Company. There may be 2 in there. I haven't even opened the package yet. It's adorable. Let's see, I have some little brads that are coffee cups and coffee beans. And I'm putting those into the wrong tray, and I'm going to lose them already. Look at that. See? I have a little bundle of fabric that none of it has a coffee themed thing on it, but I think that it's all very pretty. I'll go ahead and unroll it and show it to you. I've got it tied up with some dollar store lace that I'll use. But I love all those prints, and they just went, the colors just melded so well with what was in the journal, what I had lined up to go in the journal, let's put it that way. We'll see what all ends up in it. I like to do this with my fabric strips so that I can see everything that's in it. Set that there. And then I have these two little charms, and it's a teacup with a spoon and a coffee cup with a jewel, and then a paper clip that looks like a travel mug cup of coffee. Let's see if I have a piece of paper. Here we go. We'll use this. I'm trying to figure out how I can get it to where you can see. There we go. Isn't that cute? It came with some donut paper clips, and I may drag a couple of those out too if I use those donut pieces. I'm getting ready to rearrange my studio again, so that's my little map that I make. I have a program I made on my computer, and it comes in so handy because it's so much easier to use your mouse to move a shape than it is to move a couch across the room. And I also have 3 rolls of washi that I hope to use because they're cute. They're very cute. I have this washi with the little kawaii coffee cups and coffee beans. Can you see the little faces on the coffee cups? I don't know if I can get it in focus. Maybe not. It's very cute. And then I have another washi tape with a bunch of little coffee cups on it. Different designs. And then I have this washi tape that says, "I like you a latte," over and over again. So, this is my kit that I've put together to make my coffee and tea, you and me, and Jesus Makes 3 journal. I hope you join me in this journey. It should be a quick one because I have to have it ready in less than a week. And I am still working on my coffee cup journal, and I kind of got on a roll and forgot to record what I was doing. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far, and what I will probably end up doing is recording in bits and pieces and then trying to edit it all together so you don't have to watch 15 videos on how to make this very simple journal. So this is what I have done so far. I got all of my papers cut out using this template. I put them into order, and I went ahead and I sewed them into the cup using a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. You can see the 2 parts there, and then the 2 parts there, and the knot where it's tied there. What I didn't show you besides that is I dry decoupaged a bit of this tissue paper I have that makes an excellent background. I've used it for lots of projects here lately. I can't remember where I got it, but I'm really thinking it was at the Dollar Tree. And then I also decoupaged this napkin. I think I did show you that when I was talking about the things that I was putting together. And this little part here where it says, "My heart is with your heart," went up off the edge of the page, and I didn't want to lose it. So I took it off and added it over here. Now, something you may notice, and I'm trying to make it look like I did it on purpose, but I didn't do it on purpose. I sewed my signature in on the wrong side of the fold. I intended to sew it in over here so that when you open it up, there it is. But you know, it still works this way because whichever way you open it up, it was only going to have half of a cover behind it. It just wasn't my intent for it to be on this side. Now, if you're going to make one and you simply cut it right there on that fold, you're not going to have to worry about it because you're obviously going to sew it in on that side. And I think that's what I was thinking was, here's my cover, there's where I sew it in, and then voila, I have it on the side I didn't want. So, after I quit beating myself up after that, mostly, I added some washi tape on the edges to give them more of a finished look. And I decided that I needed something to cover up this, since now when it's open, this is what you see, whereas you wouldn't have had I sewn it in over here. And I had this cardboard cutout that someone had given me a cup cozy on. And obviously it was too tall because it probably was about that tall. And so I cut it in half and I inked the edges. The two inks that I am using for this project are Ground Espresso and Tea Dye. Tea Dye is kind of a pinkish brown and Ground Espresso is kind of a blackish brown. So after I cut this in half, and I trimmed the corners here just a little bit because I felt like they stuck out too much. Then I went over the edges with the Ground Espresso and I created two pockets. And I made these pockets pop up a little bit. Can you see the, let me see if I can get that up there. Can you see the pop dot behind it? I have pop dots down the sides, across the bottom, and down that side on the back piece. On the bottom piece, I have a layer of pop dots down each side, and then I have a double layer down here where it hangs off to accommodate the extra pop dots that are underneath of it there so that it lays straight. And now I have two pockets that have room to accommodate things. Let's see, what can I show you? Okay, we'll just see. That just tucks in there. That just tucks in there. Then I started this morning writing again on it and did not think about turning on the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little mini flip through so you can see how I arranged the papers, and then I'll show you what I did. I tried to make sure that if I had a paper that was printed on both sides, the next page was one that was either a coffee dyed plain paper or a coffee dyed composition book paper. I will probably, this keeps popping up right here. I don't know that glue is going to hold it down very well because that's a stress point. So I am probably going to either glue some washi tape down on it. I'll put glue on the washi tape just to make sure it's an even stronger hold. Or I may take a wider sheet of paper, say one of my scrap papers over here, and glue it down to where it's like an inch overlapping or a ½ inch overlapping on this side and covering that to keep that gap closed. So I have the scrapbook paper that is printed on both sides. I have coffee dyed paper, more scrapbook paper, another coffee dyed paper, and then this is the coffee dyed composition book paper. This paper and this paper, those are both either drawing paper, sketch paper, or watercolor papers, and they took the dye much better because I think they're art papers. They're meant to more readily accept the art mediums, whereas this is writing paper, so I don't think it takes the coffee dye in exactly the same way. Still gives it an interesting look, except for you can't see it very well because the sun is coming in my window. There, I'll let you see. It gives it a little texture and a little bit of color, but it's not really overpowering, and you can still use the lines to write on. More scrapbook paper. This coffee paper I did differently. I'll hold it up there too. I spilled coffee on accident. And instead of grabbing paper towels to wipe it up, I grabbed copy paper to wipe it up. And you can see where I went and sat the coffee mug on top of it to also dry off the bottom of my coffee mug. Here is one of the poems that I wanted to include in my journal, and I backed it with this coffee colored wrapping paper. And I just did that with a glue stick. I have a couple of bumps because I wasn't very quick about getting the glue on there, but it still works. And I'll probably use this as a background anyway. More of the art coffee dyed paper and scrapbook paper. And here you can see the two right next to each other. You can see how they, let's see, there. I think you can see that. You can see the difference in how the coffee dyeing takes. I did these at the same time, and that's the difference that they had. Let's see, more of the scrapbook paper. This, coming up, I made a flip out because I had an extra piece of the coffee dyed paper, art paper. I think this one's tracing paper. And I simply attached it there and attached it there. Now, since I have these two joints that are showing here, I will probably, once again, either use washi tape, or maybe I'll take one of my napkins and do some dry decoupage over the top of it. If I can get that coffee cup placed over that darker spot, then that one would work. Because this is a white napkin, whatever is behind the white is going to really show through, so I have to be careful about what I use there. Or I could even put this on there and then use it as a background to do something else. But I want to make sure I don't make it too thick because it still has to fold over and close. Let's see, and we'll just flip through. I think we're not to the center yet. I think this is the center. Yes. And that's the page that I just showed you with the dry decoupage of the tissue paper and the napkin. And then there's all the other sides. I think all of them, the opposing side looks pretty much the same except for this little bit of prose here that I wanted to include. And this is slightly different than the picture on its opposite side, because this is where the beans are spilled and here they're still in the bag. And then that's how much you have showing at the back. Okay. Now, the next thing that I did that I started this morning, this was one of the panels that I took off of a Splenda box, where it's got the fancy cup of coffee and all of these words, these lovely words: enjoy, taste, yum, delicious, sweet, family, share, delight. I really, really like that print. And so I took the smaller of the two and I tore a little bit closer to the edge, giving myself a raggedy edge. Oh my goodness, my lighting is terrible in here today. It's kind of bright outside, but it's still kind of a gloomy bright, if there is such a thing. And so my lighting's a little awkward. I apologize for that. But I took and tore closely around the words on the edges, and then somewhat of a rough tag shape. And then on the back, I tore off a layer of the cardboard. And I did that. If you just kind of scrape with a fingernail on a torn edge, you can pull up a layer of that cardboard. And that helps some with the thickness, especially since you're probably going to be applying another layer on it. So the layer you take off at least accommodates the layer that you're going to put on. So what I did, I took that layer off and I got into my large scrap box. I have a box for my large scraps. I'll just show you this real quick. These are all scraps that are bigger than my hand. That one's smaller than my hand. It doesn't belong in there. It belongs in here. This is another box of scraps that are smaller than my hand. And then I have another box with scraps that are tissue paper and napkins. See, there's that napkin that I appliqued. Well, not that napkin, a portion of that napkin. And I have pieces of tissue. These are the little fine things. Every once in a while, I will have tracing paper or something else that's kind of thin in there. But usually I separate it into those three categories: bigger than my hand, smaller than my hand, and tissue paper. So I had this paper in here, and it's a yellow on a cream color, and I placed my tag on it, and I just tore closely around it. That way I retained the rough, raw edges of both the cardboard. My sleeves don't want to stay where I want them to be. Of both the cardboard and the paper, except for this clean edge up here. I saved that on both sides because I wanted to make it a tag, and I felt like if it was going to have this nice hole here, it needed to have a nice straight edge. I don't know why. In my head, that's how it worked. We're just going to go with it. And so I used my glue stick. This is my favorite glue stick, Scotch Create Multi-Purpose. And before I punched the hole, I covered it with the glue stick. I applied it to the paper, and then I tore the paper, and then I took my ground espresso, and these, I think these are makeup sponges. I'm not sure. Can you see how it's not a sponge. It's more like tiny little bristles that are sticking out of a sponge layer, and they're attached to this harder layer. It's not hard, but you know, it's firm. And then I just go around the edges like that. I have some of those Tim Holtz round sponge edge things. I don't even know the name of them. I can't get the hang of them. I tear my paper, or I end up with circles or something. I just need more practice. I just haven't practiced. So on this one, I have a perforation that goes right there through the cup, and a little label here that says pull downward to open. So I can't use this whole thing in the same way that I can use this one that's just a continuous piece. However, I do think I can cut out this coffee cup, fussy cut it, and I think I can cut out this cookie over here. And I believe that that coffee cup will make an adorable little tag that I can back with something. I don't have to back it with something. And this can be a cute little dangle. And so I will attempt that. I could attempt it right now and then just speed it up and let you see what happens. How's that? Except for I haven't changed my glasses yet. I have on my regular glasses. I need on my handy dandy craft glasses. So I wonder if I can fussy cut around this and maybe even still use some of those words if I don't destroy it. That would be a bonus. That would be a bonus. And I'm not going to worry about perfectly round, because I am not perfect. And I'm not a robot. And I think that that gives your pieces that you create that human touch that shows that you took your time, you took your care, you took consideration into creating something. Ooh, here's where I have to be careful, because that's where that perforation is. You know, so the box will be easier to open. Ooh, I'm scared on this part because I don't want to tear the handle. Okay, so let's cut that way past. And then I can come in and not worry about tearing out my handle. I'll get to right there. This is also not easy to do when I'm used to getting things right up to my nose in order to cut it. Oh, did I get it? Yay! I got it. Oh, and look, that's also where I tore that layer of cardboard off. So I can put a backer on there. I'm probably going to, I don't know if I want to try to cut off anymore. Okay, I'm going to try. I have these window scrapers that I got from the Dollar Tree, 3 in a pack, and they are some of my most handy non-craft craft tools. I use them for cutting washi tape. I use them for removing layers. I use them to clean off my desk because my desk is glass and I can paint and glue and just make a good old mess and not... Okay, I'm sorry. I have to bring this up to my nose so I can see what I'm doing. I'll try to keep you on screen without putting my head in there. Will that work for you? And then, oh, I don't want to tear that. I don't want to tear the handle of the coffee cup off. Ooh, okay, I'm getting even more of that backing off. This is going to be a thinner tag. Oh, I'm going to stop right there. Isn't that cute? Whew. I think I was gritting my teeth while I was doing that. Ouchie. Now I'm going to cut around the cookie because it's just too cute. I'm not even going to worry about that little bit of yellow because, number one, this cookie's kind of a golden color anyway. A golden vanilla color. And I can't eat cookies. I can't eat wheat. It doesn't mean that I can't appreciate it when they look yummy. So there we go. And then we'll trim that just a little bit because it doesn't look quite right. There, now the heart looks better. Yay! And I'm not going to worry about cutting any or peeling any of the back off on that because it's going to be a dangle. I'm not going to put anything on the back. I'll set this aside and I may try to get some of those words out. I kind of like yummy love there. Yeah. So I'll set that over here in my goodie basket. Now I'm going to move that tag over there. I'm going to put this over here to the side. I'm going to get out that same creamy yellow paper. Let's see. And look, if I put it in there, then I'm making good use of the space. Ta-da! That makes me feel good that I don't waste a lot of things. Now I want to put plenty of glue, and it makes me want to giggle when I see the backs of these cardboard after I peel off that layer, because all of the fibers are all of a sudden going wonky. And when you go to put the glue stick on there, it looks like a baby's hair right after you take it out of the tub. It's just all kind of smoothed down and strange looking. I mean, it looks cute on the baby. Still looks kind of strange though. And then I will take a card and I will do this just to make sure I don't have air bubbles. I think this is part of the problem I had with the wrapping paper page that I decoupaged into my book, is I don't think I used my card to smooth it down. Now I'm just going to fussy cut around here again. It's a little bit easier because now I've got the edge of the cup as a guide instead of just the picture of the cup to look at. I can actually feel the edge of the cardboard. Now I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to figure out what is going to be the best way to make this into a tag, because I can't use my regular hole punch. It's much bigger than that coffee handle is. And I do have one that is teeny tiny, but I'm not sure it's teeny tiny enough. I may have to take my poker tool that I have never found out the correct name for, that I got from my husband's grandma before she died. But it'll make a little small hole, and then I can just take a small piece of thread, like this thread that I used for binding. Here it is. I used the whole hank of embroidery thread, but I can take a couple of small pieces out of it and thread that through there to make a tag. So I'm going to pull out my block. This block is just a piece of packing. It's It's not the styrofoam crinkly, makes a weird noise kind of packing. It's actually plastic styrofoam. I don't know if that's the correct term or not. Can you see it? And this is what I use when I do my book binding, is I'll punch through there. And these are my two pokey tools. Besides my awl, I have an awl that has a bigger, makes a bigger hole, that is in my book binding case. Now, I'm afraid if I use that I might go too far and rip the hole. And can you see the difference? Here, I'll put this up behind it. See the difference in thickness there? This one is about the same size as my needle that I use. So, oh my goodness. I am going to make a little buffer out of the layer that we peeled off the back of that big piece. I'm going to lay that little thin handle on the buffer, and I'm going to very gently I'm going to spin it, kind of like the old-fashioned movies where you see people trying to start a fire and they're spinning a piece of wood against a piece of wood. All right, it's gone through. Now I just want to make sure that the hole is big enough for my thread to get through. Oh, I needed to keep that up there. Maybe I needed to undo a thickness. Yeah. Ooh. Ah. Okay, there we go. Whew, I'm going to stop while I'm not destroying it yet. I did bend it a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. Now the hole is in there. Put my lid on this one because this one's much sharper than the other one. The one I got from my husband's grandma, I don't even know what it's really used for. I don't know what its real name is. I've had it for about 12 years. And I use it for everything. It's on that list of favorite tools, and I don't even know what it's called. Now I'm going to take my ground espresso. It's not an espresso. Tap off a little bit in the lid. And I'm just going to go around the edge just a little bit. I mean, it's a white coffee cup. We don't want it to look filthy. But I also don't want that stark white or any of the yellow that I failed to cut off. I don't want that to be the main thing you see. And then I'm going to go around the back. I didn't think about that. I made the lines going sideways on the tag. I think that'll be okay. And there we go. There is that. Now, I have this little tiny hook. Nope, still too big for that, and I am not going to force the issue. And I think that my thread pulling hook is too big also. So I'm just going to act like I am threading a needle, because this doesn't really have to hold a lot of weight. It's just to look at, really. So let's see. I don't know why I'm holding this. I'm not really holding this up to you at the camera. I'm holding it up to my eyes and trying not to get my head in the camera. So it's a little awkward. Everybody wants to watch somebody else threading a needle or threading a little tiny hole, don't they? But it's part of it. You can always speed past this part. I don't mind. I won't even know. Remember that. I won't even know if you speed me up to 125 by hitting those 3 little dots up in the corner. There's a little drop-down menu that'll appear. And if you look down toward the bottom of that list, there's a spot that says playback speed. If you click on that, you have the option to make me 2 times slower or 2 times faster. And I'm quite all right with that. So there we go. There's a little tag. I think it's quite cute. I have to figure out how to do it. This I am probably going to back on a piece of that, this piece of cardboard here so that it looks like the bottom of the cookie, and I'll probably sandwich that thread in between to make a little loop. And I think that that will finish that. So I'm going to get my glue stick out. I would get more glue on my table than on the cutout if I put this down and tried to glue on it. So I'll just hold it up in the air. I have baby wipes on hand. I have baby wipes that I don't really like right now on hand. I forgot to put my lid back on my ink. And so I am, I'm avoiding using them. Although if I use them up, then I don't have to use them for very much longer, right? I don't know. I feel like they would work better on a baby's behind than on my craft projects because there's a lot of lint. And I'm debating, do I want to cut around that or do I want to tear around that? I think I'm going to cut just to make sure that I don't tear off a part that I didn't mean to tear off. I said that I was going to glue a piece of string between this layer and the cookie, and I didn't. But I have enough of this backing here that I could still go back and do that. So I'm going to tie a loop down in the bottom because that loop will help the string not to just pull out of the sandwich. There we go, just like that. See that knot right there? It'll keep it from pulling through the middle. Put it right down there at the point. All right, that's long enough, so I'm going to glue it again. Thank goodness I had enough of that left. I didn't have to scrum around for another piece or something that would work in its place. Now, I'm going to set that down. Place this with the knot down there at the tip. And then I'm just going to press that on there. I don't know if my head was in the screen during that because I was trying to get over it and see what I was doing. Now, because the string's in there, I'm not going to be able to use my card just swiping. But I can get right up next to the string and I can press that down and get a good tight fit. And now I can cut the heart out again. How many times does one person need to cut out the same heart? Lots, apparently. Now I want to make sure when I get up to the top that I don't cut my string, because that would just not be good. So we're going to cut and avoid the string and continue. And if when you look at it after you get done cutting, if you feel like you avoided the string a little bit too much, you can go back and trim it. I think I'm going to cut off just a little bit more there. And then tear that final bit. There we go. There. And now I have a little dangle charm whatever you want to call it, to add to my book. I don't know that I'm going to get any more use out of that, so I will go ahead and get rid of it because I have enough mess. All right, so in that half an hour, I flipped through what I should have shown you, and I showed you how I made a tag and a little charm tag and a little dangle out of the cookie out of the Splenda box. So this is how I go about adding a button that has a shank, the little bumpy part where the threads go through and the holes don't come through on the front. That part's called a shank. You probably already know that, but some of you may not. So now you know. And I have an example one in this journal. I started a second one so that I could start showing how to do the different little dealies that I did in my original prototype. Plus, I've had a few ideas since then, since I made this one, some of which I've done in this, some of which I've done in this. And this is one of them. So, to use a button to make a dangle or a paper clip placement, or simply to have one in your journal if you really, really like it and it goes. First, you want to make sure your page is heavy enough. This is coffee dyed paper, and coffee dyed paper, during the coffee dye process, it weakens the paper somehow. And so probably because getting paper wet is not really, really good for it to become a stronger piece of paper. So you'll want to get a piece of paper that is cardstock, preferably heavier than just scrapbook paper, or double it up if you need to, like reinforce just the little area that you're going to put your button. Now, I think that this looks really cute on this page with all the little kawaii coffee cups. Can you see their happy little faces on there? So I'm going to put it right here. I think maybe, no, I think I'll put it on the back side with all the happy little coffee beans. Either way, it's really cute. And I decided on where I would like, here, let me grab a clip so that I can keep my journal open while I'm doing this. These bulldog clips, I use them for so many things when I'm making junk journals. They're like having an extra hand, and who cannot use an extra hand, I think, sometimes. So find your placement where you would like your little button to go and mark it. And then I have this all, and the brand is Clover. Pretty sure I got that on Amazon, but I will check and I will link into my supplies list so that you know where I got it. And I place the tip where I want my hole to be. Now, you see how that gets wider at the top? You can determine how big your hole is by where you stop. Right about there is where it stops. Whoops. Right about there is where it gets thicker and thicker, and then right there it stops, and it's about the same thickness the rest of the way. I think that's because this is used for bookbinding or for leather working, maybe. I think it's bookbinding though. I think this came in a kit, actually, a bookbinding kit. And so you want uniform holes at a certain point, but you don't just want to go in there and go, with a blunt object. It's not going to make a hole in your paper like you want it to make a hole in your paper. It'll make a kind of hole in your paper you don't want. So place that sharp tip right where you want your hole to be and just push through, being careful of your fingers on the back. Support your paper on both sides of the awl with your other fingers. Can you see how I'm doing that? And that way your paper also doesn't get ripped in a way that you do not want. Now, I have a tendency not to put my lids on my tools. I'm really bad about that. See my razor blade just sitting there. One of these days I'll learn. Hopefully not the hard way. Now this shank on this button is just a little bit larger than that hole, but it's okay because I can get that shank at the angle that I want it to sit, whether I want it to sit that way or straight up and down. But I can sit the beginning of that shank in that hole and just push it through. And it's actually going to tear the paper just a little bit, but not like it would if I just, whoops, tried to shoved the button through the paper. Now, somewhere in my studio, I have hole reinforcers. Those are the little white circles that have a little circle punched out of the center of it that you see on papers that are put into binders. And that helps to reinforce that corner. I can't find mine. I even know what the container looks like, and I can't find it right at this moment. But you see what my desk looks like? The rest of my studio, see, I'm even hitting my little extra light that doesn't need to be here, so I'll move it. It's a hot mess. I'll just tell you that. It's somewhere in here. I just don't know where. Now, I'm going to show you this paper clip. It's a little teardrop shaped paper clip. I think it looks like a good to the last drop of coffee or tea. It could be either, since on this back side, we've got the hot and the cold. And we all know that those coffee shops sell coffee and tea. You're just going to feed this beginning lead part of the paper clip through the shank on your button. And you're going to go, aha, here in just a moment. And you're going to feed it around. And you can use whatever shape paper clip works with this. I have done a few, and I haven't found one yet that doesn't work. I found a few that probably would have worked better had it been a different shape. But I just feed that through the hole. And now that paper clip is going to keep that button shank on this side of the paper. The button's going to stay on that side of the paper, and it's going to keep it from going anywhere. If I had the hole reinforcer, I would have put it on before the paper clip and around that shank of that button. And actually, if I find them, when I find them later, I will probably take the paper clip off, put the hole reinforcer on, and then put the paper clip back on. You don't need to do that on the back side because your button is covering all of that. This part's a little bit exposed. If it makes you feel better to put it on the back side too, go for it. It's not a big deal. Now, the bonus is you've got this paper clip here, and it acts like a dangle. I'll just take one of these little cards. Here, I'll take a smaller one. That one's kind of chunky. One of these little cards that is actually, I think this is from one of the pack of papers, in one of the papers in the scrapbook. And simply use your paper clip like a paper clip. Now, it will still move a little bit, so it's almost like a dangle. You could use it as a dangle like I did in the other journal. Let me see if I can find it. I did it with a paper clip, but then I put a jewel on the bottom of the paper clip. You see that I used a regular paper clip. Well, it's not quite regular. It's like a bronze color. And then I put a little jewel dangle on the paper clip. Whoops, let's see. There we go. I think that jewel dangle picks up the little flowers in the teapots and teacups really well. So you can decorate your paper clip. You can use it as a paper clip. But it gives you another way to use something in your journal that is sometimes hard to figure out a way to use. So there is the shanked button paper clip tutorial. All right, let's say you've got all of your papers cut out using the template. You have sewn them into your signature after arranging them the way that you really liked the way that it looked. It seemed to flow to you. And you're flipping through your lovely little journal and you discover a problem. Your page is upside down. And it's not like you could just untie your journal, turn the page over and put it in, because they are sewn or they are cut at an angle like this. You would just be out your piece of paper. You would not get to use either side of it. There's an easy fix for that. You do lose one side of your paper, of this other paper. You lose this side of this paper, but you don't lose the use of the whole thing. You're just gonna make a simple little pocket. Take your glue, glue along the edge here. Do not glue the top. And if you would so like, at this point, it works really well to put a piece of lace. And I just now thought of this, and I would have had flatter lace ready had I thought of it sooner. But we'll go ahead and use this. And I will try my best with this lace that isn't flat. How about this lace? Oh, look, this lace is long enough. It's just missing a portion, but that's fine. I think I cut that off to make a different little deal. And I think I would like that to be sticking out the top. So I am just going to place the edge of the lace in that glue, that strip of glue that we just put down. And then I am going to come back on this other side and put another row of glue. One simple little row of glue, just to make sure that it's nice and held in there. And now your boo-boo has become a beautiful bonus, because now you've got a nice sealed lace edge on there. It's not going to catch on anything from the inside. I'm going to leave that up there because I kind of like that dangle. I am going to kind of fray the end of it a little bit because it's just a little too neat for me. Those of you who know me know I'm not neat. It just happens. And you have a pocket here. So now you could take, this is too big, I'm just showing it to you. And I would wait until it's fully dry before you go trying to stick things in and leaving it in there. But now you have a nice little pocket right there. Now, if you do make a pocket, I suggest that you use, and excuse me for getting up and leaving you, I'm coming right back, don't go away. I would suggest using something to make a thumb notch. Now, this is actually a conversation bubble, and most people are like, why would you even have that? And I wondered that myself, because I think I got it for $1. I think that's why I have it. But if you look on the sides, you see that little ridge there and that one on that side? That marks halfway through the conversation bubble. That makes a perfectly sized thumb notch. So put your thumb in between your papers so that you can get the bottom of your punch. Line it up, and it might be better to do this before you glue your paper together. I just happen to think of it right now, so I'm doing it now. And you can see it still works. It works better when it's not such a tight fit. But I have that notch lined up on this side and on that side. I'm going to push down, and voila. Now I only go through one side of it because I have learned by trial and error that if you do both sides, it still can sometimes be hard to get that card. Whereas this way, your thumb can push, or your finger, whichever one you're using, can push back on that, space it out, and then you can grab whatever it is that you've put in there a little more easily. So there's that tip. And I happen to have, and I just saw it, there it is, this sweet little heart that I think goes really well with the lace right there. And I think I'm going to plunk it right down in this corner, just because I can. Because I don't know about you, but I have some of the best friends in the world. And sometimes they give me stuff, sometimes I give them stuff. But mostly we give each other love and friendship. That's the best part. And you know what? We can all have the best friends in the world, even if they're not the same best friends in the world. And there you go. We have fixed that boo-boo and made it beautiful. So there you go. there's that, how to fix your upside down book page. I did a little bit different over here on the other side of that upside down book page. And I'll show you this real quick, and I will link to the napkin applique below. This page is busy enough in the background that once you put another, excuse me, semi-busy pattern on top of it, like this napkin that I dry appliqued, it fades and it just becomes another layer, and I think it looks really good. And then I made a belly band over here because I needed to cover the words that say coffee template in there, because I forgot to cover them up before I know you can't read it, but you can see there's writing. I forgot to cover that up before I put the book in the page, and then I didn't have enough napkin to cover up the coffee. Word coffee template, it didn't quite conceal it. And so I made a belly band out of another piece of paper. It's simply a strip of paper that I've glued at the top of the page and at the bottom of the page. And out of an extra piece of that same paper, I made a little corner tuck there. And then I have these two cards that were in a coffee pad set. This one was probably on the cover, and I cut it out, and then because it was showing this card. And then I tuck that in there. Tuck that in there. Took care of that side of the boo-boo, and it looks beautiful as well. I will tell you, some of my boo-boos have become some of my most beautiful things and wonderful discoveries that I have ended up doing over and over again because I liked that boo-boo and its result so very much. And there you go, how to fix a boo-boo. One of the last parts that you will make of your coffee journal, should you choose to make one of them, is going to be the fastener. Most of the time with a journal, you'll have a tie or a latch or something, and you could do that with one of these. My friend Yessie did a ribbon tie on hers, and it turned out really cute, and it worked out well because her cut side over here had lace and froth coming out of the side. For these two, I don't really have anything coming out of the side, and so I have these slip on, let's see, what are they called? I had the name, and I'm probably going to have to shorten this part of the video. Sleeve. Sleeve. There we go. I had these coffee sleeves that I made to go on mine, so it slides up and keeps it shut. You see that? Now, your coffee cup is usually, your journal, by the time you get it full, is probably going to be almost round anyway. And the sleeve accommodates that roundness very well. And then the sleeve on the first one that I made, because this one opens up from the back, it still accommodates it, because to close it, I kind of have to squish my journal. And then that sleeve slides right on up there. And so I will show you a simple way to make these sleeves. If you decide that you want to punch an eyelet and add a couple of bulb pins with charms, that's fine, that's up to you. I'm just going to show you this part. So when you cut your coffee cup apart and you saved that little circle that came out of the bottom, I used that at this point. And I don't happen to have one handy with me. So I am going to grab a piece of scrap paper. And we're going to pretend that it's my circle. Okay? So here we go. It's pretty close to the size of the bottom of the coffee cup. Now, when you cut that circle out of the bottom of your coffee cup, it probably didn't come out as a perfect circle anyway, right? So we are not worried about perfection right here, because you're not going to see this part anyway. I would make it smaller than, let's see, what size is my punch? Just because I would make it smaller than that measurement there, whatever it is, because various coffee sleeves are going to have different dimensions. Most of them will probably be the same this way, but I've seen taller, I've seen shorter. Most of them are right about this big, which is, this one is right at 2.5 inches. So somewhere around there, you want your circle to be smaller than that. This part is going to hang over, and I used a 2.5 inch scallop punch, and I cut out of decorative paper a scallop just like that. Okay, I make sure and double layer it just so it's a little sturdier. And what you're going to do, if you just want it to be plain like this and just inked on the edges or not inked on the edges, that's fine. If you want to do some stamping on it, you will want to do the stamping before you apply it to the sleeve. In this case, I've got the plain side, then I have this other side because I made one for my friend who didn't get to make the stamped part while we were at a retreat. So I'm not really going to glue hers. I'm just going to pretend so that I can still mail this to her and she can still use it the way she wants. The reason that you wanted to save the bottom of the coffee cup, and it's going to be thicker than this little piece of cardstock, you want to have a little buffer between this, your decorative scallop piece, and the cardstock here. That way, whenever this curves, this isn't trying to curve with it so much. It's just going to be glued here in the middle, so it's got some wiggle room. See? This isn't glued all the way to the edges. I can't get a good angle. It isn't glued all the way to the edges, so it's got some it's got some wiggle room on the thickness there. See, it stays flatter while the sleeve bends. You might be able to see it better on this one because I'm not trying to keep the jingles. There we go. See? And this has that little layer in there. Can you see that? Yes. I'll just bend it. That little buffer layer there that helps it to be able to bend like that. So you will cut this out, maybe do a double layer of it. You're going to have this circle, and you want to make sure that that circle is smaller than your bigger one, smaller than your scalloped one, and I'm actually going to make it just a little bit smaller here because that was just too close for my comfort to being at the edges, and I don't want it to show past the scallops if I can avoid it. Then, using your 3-in-1, because it will hold better than water-based glues, especially in this situation, you're just going to glue that on there. Whoops, nope. You're going to glue this to the back of your scalloped piece, just like that, in the center. And then you're just going to glue in the center here. Don't go all the way out to the edges. You remember, you want that movement to be available. Maybe a penny-sized blob of glue there. And then you're going to center that right on your band. Now, obviously, this color combination isn't real good because they kind of blend into each other. But you see how I did that there. And this band is just almost too wide for that scallop to work. See, they come in different sizes. So in this case, I might even see if I could either cut off a little bit of this band, or maybe I would cut another scallop even larger, but that's 2.5 inches. That's a pretty good size scallop. I think I would be more inclined to cut down the band just a little bit so that this hangs over the edges like this. It gives you a little bit more of interest on that. Also, I forgot this step. If you're wanting to ink this band, I have inked the edges of both of these bands. Do that before you glue on this part, and if you want to glue on washi or any other kind of a decoration, do that before you glue on the seal. That's what we'll call this, is the seal. That'll be easier. When you glue that on there, you're going to want to let it dry completely before you slide it onto your journal. Otherwise, the glue is not going to have a chance to set up and to cure in such a way that it'll hold it together. So, whether you did a side cut on your journal, I haven't put the dangles on yet, I just still have the strings. Whether you did a side cut or you did a center cut, and this one's chunky. I really like the saddle way, the saddles of the saddle strap. I don't even know, I feel like I'm talking about a horse. Way of making your closure. Let's see if I can get some of this junk out of the way. And there you go. That's how you make a coffee journal. Thank you for joining me. I hope you were able to follow everything. And join me again for my final flip through of these two journals. Congratulations! You made it through to the end. And as a special thank you, I am going to do a giveaway of this journal. You can watch for the flip through. I will post a flip through of both of these. And just to show my appreciation for those of you who do watch my videos, I will do a drawing. All you have to do is comment below. And let's see, what should I have you comment on? How about this? How about your favorite part of this video? Any of it. I don't mind what part you pick. Even if it's my flubba-dubs, that's fine with me. And then I will put all those comments into a random comment, let's see, what's it called? A generator. And not all the comments, each of the individual people who comment below. And then you just need to watch for the drawing. And I will do that drawing, let's see, next Monday, which I believe is February 9th. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And I appreciate every one of you. And as always, remember, be kind. Bye.